Good morning to everybody. We are here to present the commitment of ISTO during the International Week. And I don't know, Sabrina, if you want to share the presentation. I'm going to present in brief ISTO. ISTO is the International Social Tourism Organization. It was born, you can pass it if you want. The second one, okay. It was born in Brussels, Belgium in 1963, and since 2010 the name changed from BITS to ISTO. ISTO promotes the fair and sustainable tourism for all, and it represents the stakeholder in the social and sustainable and fair tourism sector from all over the world. You can go to the next, okay. Here you can see history around the world. It made up of 188 member organization. It is divided into 3 regional sections, and it represents 100 million overnight stay in accommodation facility of member organization. It made up of 33 members of the Alliance for Training and Research, 32 directors from 16 countries, and there are represented 43 countries all over the world. This is the commitment of ISTO. The first one is the Montreal Declaration toward humanist social vision on tourism, and then it flows into the Declaration of Montreal, and it represents the inclusion, fair business, environment, solidarity, and quality of life, and SDGs objectives. So, as you can see, there is a circular commitment in our DNA to the for a more social tourism. Can pass. Okay, these are the active working groups in which ISTO is now working. So the first one is on accessible tourism. Annette Messon of the Association of Tourism and Handicap from France is responsible for this group, and it represents 21 organizations from 12 countries across Europe and the America. The main aim of this working group is to highlight good practice guides with practical measures to promote worldwide accessible tourism, and it is available in ISTO e-library. The second one is the working group on community and fair tourism. Coralie Marty from the Association pour le tourisme équitable et solidaire of France is responsible for. And during this year 2025 she's organizing a series of webinars to go in deep in some of the topic relevant for this working group. So the next one, it will be on 10th of June, Introduction to the Regenerative Approach to Tourism. If you want to take part in it, please contact us at info of ISTO. And the third one is the group on gender equality, diversity and inclusion, and Yaya Pedemonte is responsible for it. And the commitment of this working group is to foster gender equality, diversity and inclusion according to the ISTO Charter. Now they are reflecting on ongoing gender sensitive and culturally adaptable evaluation criteria, and to integrate a gender perspective into measurement tools and local initiatives. You can go on. Okay, these are our action. So our representation and awareness raising with national, international bodies active in tourism project to support the participation, research and studies in the fields of social and responsible tourism, information through the dissemination of our own and our members and the sector information, and networking to enable partnership and knowledge flow and exchange of idea, best practice, and business opportunity between the members. You can go on. Okay. These are our three regional sections to strengthen the members exchange and the participation of ISTO in three main areas. The first one is the Africa section. The president is Innocent and Young to come. The main aim of this section is to promote the concept of social, sustainable, and inclusive tourism in the African continent, and to facilitate the interaction between African members and other organizations. The American section, the president is Alberto Lopez. The main aim of this section is the development and implementation of social policies for tourism, to facilitate relationship between members and support their activity and actions, and the representation and training activity. The third section is the European section. That represents the European members of ISTO. And the main aim of this section are to develop strategies and action in areas such youth tourism and access to holidays, and to facilitate spaces for exchange and collaboration between members and partners. And the president is Gianluca Pastorelli. You can go on if you want. Okay, ISTO Europe, sorry, is represented by more than 100 members across 17 countries, and the focus of this section is very important because it's the lobbying with the European institution, European Commission, European Committee of Regions, European Parliament, European Economic and Social Committee, and Tourism. And also it is important for the network. So we are developing national ambassador and committees to give more visibility to ISTO, to give also more visibility to its members, and to work together for main important action for ISTO. And the first action we have now is the organization of ISTO Europe Forum for 2025, for example, and other important activities as social impact of tourism, contribution to the tourism glossary, and the plan for sustainable finance as fundraising action for ISTO. You can go on. Okay. So here we are three initiatives of ISTO. So the first one is the 6th International Week of Fair and Sustainable Tourism for All, in which this today is marked, and it's from 3 to 10th of June 2025. The second one is the Encuentro de las Américas de Turismo Social, the meeting of America for Social Tourism that will be held in Florianopolis, Brazil, from 21-25 of June. So, and the third is the ISTO Forum, the European ISTO Forum 2025, that will be held 21-22 of October of this year. So if you want to join this initiative, you are very welcome, and please contact us if you want more information. You can go on, Sabrina. So thank you for your attention. You have my contact, and also the Sabrina contact if you want more information regarding that. So now I'm very pleased to present you our speakers this day that are from the collaboration that we have now. And the first one is Antonio Gennarelli from EVBB, the European Association of Institute for Vocational Training, and is going to present the Pact for Skills in tourism, in which they are co-leader. It is an important initiative of the European Commission for the Skills on Tourism in one of the 14 industrial ecosystem. But I don't want to anticipate more, and I will give the floor to our colleague Antonio Gennarelli.
Thank you very much, Fadia, Sabrina, for the invitation, and also good morning to the community of ISTO. Thank you for having us for the Sustainability Week. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm Antonio Gennarelli. I was introduced from the EVBB. I represent today the Pact for Skills for Tourism. I'm happy to introduce this important initiative where also ISTO is present. So on this, that we also can work together as two networks in a way that advance for stronger tourism from the side of competencies. So not only from the side of tourism in general, but from the side of what I will speak about, you will hear upskilling and reskilling. So I will share my presentation here. I believe you are soon able to see it. Yes, here we are. So as you can see, I think it's important to highlight it since the beginning. The Pact for Skills for Tourism is an initiative launched by the European Commission. So it was launched in 2020 following the EU Skills Agenda, one of the main policy framework that has regulated or supported the development of skills across different ecosystems in Europe. Now it has been updated by a new policy framework called the Union of Skills, which, as you see, Union, Pact, we all go more or less in the same direction. The direction is always that of working together. And this is why we are here today. We were here in the previous months, and we will continue doing so together with ISTO. And we hope also with our members. So to say that ISTO is a signatory now of the Pact for Skills for Tourism, I will explain what it is, what it means to be a signatory. But just a few words about also me and the EVBB. The EVBB is one of the two co-coordinators of the Pact for Skills. We are two organizations, one that is dedicated to education and training, that is us, and the other one is a sectoral one called Rural Tour, which is the Federation of Rural Tourism Operators in Europe. So two organizations bringing together two different types of expertise, but they are important together. So from the side of the industry, from the side of the training, we merge in order to support the better coordination of this initiative. And EVBB is a network of technical providers. So we have vocational schools, universities of applied sciences, and companies that provide the training and continuous training in the field of tourism and the field of also of all the other technical applications, but we are very much involved in tourism. You will see also some of the initiatives that we are involved in my presentations and in my presentation, and also in the following ones that you will hear from the other speakers. So a few words more about the LSP. What this mean? Pact for Skills, LSP. Why? Because a Pact for Skills, as Fadia introduced, is an initiative that aims to address skill gaps and labor shortages in 14 industrial ecosystems. It means that across the 14 industrial ecosystems, there may be more sectors involved. 14 is quite a small number if we understand the complexity of the economy as it stands now. So you can imagine that, for example, in the energy sector, you will have renewable energies, you will have coal, you will have offshore wind energy. So you have different skills ecosystems. While in tourism, there is only one. So you have the Pact for Skills for Tourism and the LSP for Tourism, which is indeed the true partnership. So the community of organizations, and here you see them, 98, that come together, and I will present them afterwards in another slide as well, that come together because they are committed to working for a more competent workforce in the tourism industry across all different ecosystems, let's say, of the tourism industry. So we have hotellerie, we have restaurants, we have travel agents, guides, all different of sort of training. So it is understandable that they have different needs according to the different size regions, of course, where they operate across Europe. Here you see that we are represented almost in every country of Europe. We are getting there. Almost 21 countries are represented, and we have almost reached 100 supporting organizations. We have especially strong representation of umbrella organizations. For example, together with us, we have Hotrec, so representing hotels, restaurants, bars, and cafes across Europe. There are also other operators, as I said, rural tour from rural tourism, for example, just to give another one, but also national representatives. For example, the associations for hotel and restaurants in specific countries, like Hungary, I would say, Evimos, or in other countries as well, we represent tourism employers, Federturismo in Italy. So there is a wide representation of those who represent. Why? Because as it merges well, I think, with the mission of ISTO is that of communicating with the European Commission. So we are there, especially us as co-coordinators, but also the members of ISTO are able to interact with the European actors, European Commission, European Parliament sometimes, those that work on tourism in order to better advance the needs of those that work in skills and training for this industry. You will see them also a bit later, what are the main priorities in terms of training, but just to tell you that you can see here, it's quite balanced in terms of representation. You have industry umbrella organizations, but also you have a strong presence of education providers, such as the two speakers following me later today. Then you have also a wide variety of regions and destinations. We represent regions in Spain. We represent destination management organizations that, of course, are also entrusted for destination management strategies. So it is a wide community, and I think this is really the beauty of it, the true richness that I can say out of it we can build on. You can see education institutions, public institutions, tourism operators all together. Here you can see some of the logos because by now they don't fit anymore, as there are 98 in one single slide, in one small slide, in order to give them justice. But this is a little bit the structure of the Pact for Skills. One question could be, why is it structured like that? If it is education and training, why don't we have only educational providers? Or why don't we have only a discussion with industry? The truth is that we are not able to have high quality training, relevant training, training that is up to date, that is specific to what industry needs without being altogether involved in the conversation. So it is important to understand that this is why it's a pact, because we come together to an agreement saying that we need to work together in order to make sure that the training that we do is aligned to what the industry needs. We need to do it regularly. We need to be in a conversation. It cannot be a one-shot types of collaboration. This is why we are here and we meet every month, almost every 40 days, I would say, for the Pact for Skills Online, in order to share best practices, in order to share new knowledge, results of projects, initiatives, even events, let's say things like this. So this is the true, I think, structure and understanding of what the Pact for Skills community is. But I will introduce another element that is a signatory. When you join the Pact for Skills, you are not just an organization declaring your interest to become part of the community. You are a signatory of a commitment, of a pledge. It is not, of course, an obligatory pledge. It is not mandatory. It is a voluntary one. But it shows that you do something, you are working on the topic. So this is also in a way helps us to monitor what is happening on the ground. So what each organization is doing in order to advance education and training for tourism in their own community, in their own scope of activities. Larger organizations will work at European level, national level. Regional organizations will work in their own region, so they will have their specific scope. The important thing is that us we know. Because if we know, if the community knows, you are able to share your experience with other organizations, other regions, countries that may have similar challenges to the ones that you face, not only in, let's say, social tourism or accessible, as, let's say, the cases that are primary to ISTO, but in general. And at the same time, you inform not only us, but also the European policymakers. So if a challenge receives a specific weight that is strong enough for it to make an impact at European level, then we are able to push it and to communicate it through those that actually work on that in terms of strategy, in terms of policies, in terms of strategic direction for the European Union. So this is important to say that it is a European initiative because the European Union is listening to it as well. So they're very open. And with Sabrina last week, we were just at a tourism stakeholder event in Brussels in person. It is an occasion to meet like-minded organizations. It is an occasion to meet the policymakers as well. And this is what we did. So we are happy to do it on behalf of our members. As I represent schools, you represent also tourism operators. We represent Rural Tour and all the others and so on. But I represent the whole community. So together with Klaus from the Rural Tour organization, we are the two co-coordinators, but we work together with our members. So we are happy that they work together with us in Brussels for the occasion, and there will be other occasions to do it together in November, as we saw, and in January once again. This was the structure a little bit of what I just mentioned. So as you see, there are 14 industrial ecosystems. Then you have different LSPs, depending on the industry that you address. For tourism, there is only one entry point. That is the LSP tourism, so large-scale skills partnership. What are the issues that we try to address? There is an important challenge that we have been facing. Not only it became exacerbated after the pandemic in 2020, but it has always happened, I think, across the tourism industry. I don't need to tell you, it's labor shortage. So we need competent workers, but not only, we need workers. We need to make the profession more attractive to those that will want to work in it because they want to work in it, because they want, and sometimes the challenges is different, as you say, ambivalent image. The industry may not have the attractiveness of other, let's say, opportunities, but this is what we want to change. We want to provide an image of an industry that provides continuous opportunities for growth, for self-development, for a rewarding type of job in terms of also remuneration, of job conditions, and so on. So these are the core issues that I think that are really at the core of why we work for skills and why we need to have a pact for skills in tourism. Fast changes, indeed, as we think of the priorities that we had in the, let's say, 2-3 years, 2020, 22, 23, maybe, now 24, 25, let's say, and going onwards, the green transition, sustainable transition towards what AI means now for tourism. As you see, in a couple of years, I'm not sure that my vet schools would be able to say, yes, we updated our curricula just as fast. This is the challenge. So this is what I was saying. We need to be in a conversation where we are able to communicate with each other so that we are able to organize the targeted, specific, small-scale interventions in terms of upskilling and reskilling, where these new skills are, let's say, reflected upon from the side of the educators and are provided in the form of training courses or upskilling interventions to companies, to professionals, not only to younger students, but also to those that are already working in the sector. And this is particularly important to the next point. So 98% of operators in Europe are SMEs, the ones that we call small, micro, and nano enterprises. The capacity for them to access training is very limited. It is limited in terms of time, in terms of resources, and yet they represent the backbone of the industry. So we cannot really forego the fact that they are there and they need to be up to speed. If I speak with the large hotel groups, normally they have in-service trainings, which is absolutely great. So we need to find, for example, a platform through which larger companies can cooperate also with SMEs, perhaps accessing specific training materials, perhaps accessing specific training opportunities, and so on. So there is this type of discussion that need to be addressed, and we want to make sure that this is present also when we discuss with the European Commission. This is one of our priorities. This is why we want to work also with those that represent SMEs at European level, and of course in all the scalable ways. So this is a little bit summarized. I will not go into details also of all the others, otherwise I will speak for 1 hour and a half, but this is the challenges, and these are what we're trying to work on. Work on qualifications, on conditions, jobs, and especially the reputation of the industry. So for qualifications, we try to work with partners that are transnational, so coming from different countries, in order to create pathways for education that are comparable in a way. Perhaps in the future, they will be also joined as we are trying to organize for that as it started to exist also for higher education, better jobs. And this we need to have serious conversations with employers in terms of conditions and quality, and also the European Commission, because there's also a strong role to play in terms of regulation. And overall, as I said, reputation. Skills intelligence is exactly what I was mentioning before. We need to monitor the evolution of skills and competencies that comes from the industry. We need to understand the trends that are happening. Sometimes these processes, these trends are complex. It makes sense in a world that is ever more complex, I would say. So to make sure that we understand it together, we need to break it down to the smallest pieces, to the smallest components, do it regularly, often, and reflect ourselves on these changes. We need to make education more flexible and accessible to everyone. This is key, especially coming from the vocational sector, where often we are too much, let's say, in a way, too strongly institutionalized. So this is something that we can increase its flexibility by adding extracurricular activities, seminars, collaborations with industries, additional activities for professional training in adults. And this is really the core of it. Our objective, if I would put it on a manifesto, would be this one: to target 10% of the workforce per year. May seem an ambitious objective for Europe, but it has to be ambitious because the challenges are there, because we may not want to lose the ground against other large intercontinental destinations, the US, China. We want to attract visitors in a way that is sustainable, in a way that is European, I have to say it. And so this is one of really our objectives. Then there are different approaches through which we can do it in concrete. I will not go into the detail of the skills partnerships, but I want to say that the model that is at European level, that is the LSP, as you said, as you saw, the big community coming together of organizations, can be scaled down at regional level. When you bring together vet providers in a region, you bring together the representatives of the industry at that level, chambers of commerce, like regional authorities and so on that work in training. These are the ones that really can make a change if they work together, also at regional level. So this way is scalable. And this is really a little bit the ecosystem that I think it's important to understand right now. So the Pact for Skills shares best practices and that come from European projects, but not only, of course. So there are many initiatives that are happening outside of European initiatives, but why not bringing them inside the framework of European initiatives? So the idea is to bring the Pact to life, to really bring it back to life, not back, bring it to life, every day, through initiatives that give the opportunity to its members, its signatories, to work, jointly work, to be funded for the innovative work that they do. And this is an example of it. You will hear one of the results later on from Pantur, which is one of the most ambitious projects in the ecosystem. And as you see, the investment from the European Union is consistent. It's above 10 million euros. So it means that there is a great attention to what the tourism industry is saying, to the needs of the tourism industry, and think that now there is a European commissioner for tourism. This was not the case before. It is sustainable transport and tourism. So we expect really this to be a priority for the future. And we have started seeing from last week, we will see the new strategy for sustainable tourism this week. So as you see, there are things moving. So we hope that by leveraging the experience of organizations such as ISTO, we can make a stronger case now that there is, even more attention from the side of the policymakers. So these are some of the results that can work together in the Pact for Skills ecosystem. You can have ready results. You don't need to reinvent the wheels all the time. These are all freely accessible, especially if funded by the European Union. And then you can put them in the network. And then you can meet like-minded organizations. You can see, yes, I also did some work on that. Why don't we do something else that is missing there? Why don't we keep working on this together? So really, this is the approach. This is how we met. For example, I've been working on Turex and other colleagues have been working on Pantur. We sit at the table. We try to see together what we have to deliver and what we can deliver together. So this is one of, I think, of the interesting approaches. Just a few more, lines for us to reflect on. We have to include more young people also in the industry. We have to make it more attractive. We have to promote positive values for tourism. I was in Latvia a couple of weeks back. And there, for example, it was very refreshing to meet operators from there, from Riga, from the capital, mentioning how tourism is an opportunity for them, to be more, to be stronger on a map, to be more present in the European map for tourism, and rather than, often, let's say, confronting myself with, for example, people coming from the south of Europe where over tourism is a reality. So we have to focus on these values, also through tourism education and training, because this is really the part where we can show that tourism is investing in the people that make it real. So really the people working on it. And I think this is really important. There are a few other tools that are for educators, like micro-credentials, individual learning accounts that can facilitate access to these training opportunities. We have systems for that. We want to keep working on it. We want to make it up to date. For example, in France, there is a strong system, and I'm sure that if there are members from France in ISTO, as there are, so may have heard also the individual learning accounts already. There is a model that can be shared, experiences that I would like to hear myself that can be interesting for other countries. And then, as I said, regional skills partnerships, that it's a way, it's what we call the state of the art in terms of collaboration between different organizations at regional level. So in a way, this methodology is being brought forward as a way to work together in a way that is scalable, comparable, and that can be brought upon also the European level in a way that can, provide information to us that have to a little bit overview everything in Europe. So this is really a little bit, a few words about the LSP tourism. You can have our contacts here. So I'm Antonio, also my colleague Klaus would be more than happy to receive your questions and to know more if you're more interested in joining us. It's absolutely free. This I didn't mention it from before, but joining the LSP is a European initiative, so it's absolutely free. And yes, I give back the floor to maybe to Sabrina, to Fadia, and yeah, for any questions we can reply. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Antonio. It's very interesting also for the members of ISTO that want to contribute to Pact for Skills in Tourism. It's very important, I think. So now we have the pleasure to introduce you Fernanda Rabelo from is a project team leader from Pantur, and she's going to present us their sorry, a moment, best practice. So I will give you, Fernanda, the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Fadia. I'm just going to share my presentation. That's okay. Can everyone see the presentation now? Is that okay?
Yes, maybe you want to do it full screen, but it's okay if you keep it.
It's full screen for me now. Is it for you?
Perfect.
Okay. All right. So hi, good morning. Thank you so much for the invitation for this webinar, and also thank you for Antonio for the introduction, this very nice introduction of the large scales partnerships, also about the Pact for Skills. And Pantur is a part of the collaborative group of the Pact for Skills in Tourism, TU Dublin as well. So there is a lot of organizations that are joining forces to try to develop more sustainability in the industry. I work in TU Dublin. TU Dublin is one of the partners of the Pantur, and we have developed in last year a handbook and a guide that's related to best practices in equality, diversity, and inclusion. This is a part of our project only because the Pantur project is a really broad project with 13 partners from 10 different countries and 4 years funding from the European Commission. But this specific part of the project was led by TU Dublin, by our team, and we wanted to share a little bit about the results. It was just released, published in the website of Pantur. So if you would like to see, I'll leave here all the links for you to take a look at the both documents. But this one is an output from the project that we developed because we felt like when we talk about sustainability, we cannot not talk about social inclusion. And just a few words about the importance of promoting inclusion in tourism and hospitality. And when I say tourism here, I'm also including hospitality. By experience from a project, we have seen that in different countries, hospitality is included in tourism. In other countries, it's not. So when I say tourism, it also includes hospitality, which is also the subsectors that we develop research on in Pontour. So when we talk about social inclusion, when you talk about the relevance for the tourism ecosystem, I have to say that is completely relevant, because when you talk about social inclusion, we talk about how we can include everyone, disadvantaged groups, people that don't have opportunities into the system. And when we talk about the Ponto project, it's a project about training and education, it's a means of transformation. So we cannot talk about tourism sustainability without social inclusion. As also Antonio mentioned, leaving no one behind, I also brought here the information about social inclusion, how it's defined in the UN document, Leaving No One Behind. When we talk about social inclusion, it can be defined in the process of bringing more participation in society for people who are disadvantaged. So through enhanced opportunities, more resources, voice, and respect for rights. Social inclusion is both a process and a goal. And then in here today, I'm going to show a little bit of examples of best practice that saw social inclusion not only as one of the responses of tourism, sustainability, and responsibility, but also as a means to provide more sustainability. We can say that tourism can either exacerbate inequalities or empower marginalized communities. And this dual situation, it's also present in other industries, of course. But when you talk about tourism, and there is a lot of talk nowadays in terms of how tourism can bring sustainability, how communities can have sustainability with tourism activities. So we need to think about how we can create more opportunities and how we can empower groups as well to be included in the tourism industry so it can bring more sustainability to the industry. And inclusiveness in tourism, just a few questions for us to think about it. I just brought a few questions. When we talk about inclusiveness in tourism, we need to think about how to foster social inclusions. And when we are designing the handbook, we thought about the policies and practices. So both together, they have to work to make the industry more inclusive. We also have a lot of organizations as ISTO and others as well that work from the last 20, 30, or 40 years in responsible tourism and sustainable tourism practices. And these organizations are very important, and this uptake on what tourism is also is very important because it ensures it benefits the long-term well-being of individuals and groups. So when I think about the responsible tourism practices, we're thinking about something that benefits everyone, benefits all. And when we talk as well about social inclusion, on inclusions, we need to know that social inclusion is as well a driver and an outcome of tourism development. As long as we keep talking about development of tourism and how it's going to be from now on, because we are thinking a lot about green sustainability, we're thinking a lot about the inclusion of groups and thinking a lot about the inclusion of communities, we need to think that it can be a driver, not only an outcome. So we need to think about opportunities for social inclusion to be in the beginning of the conversation about development and not at the end. A little bit about training and education. So we are a consortium, the Pontour project, and developing outputs related to training on skills and education. But also, when we think about training and education in terms of hospitality, we need to think about a few questions. That's how we kind of design our thoughts about the handbook and our research in EDI. So EDI training and education, it addresses questions on long-term sustainability. So all discussions on sustainability should involve a discussion on fairness and inclusive practices. So lots of people think about sustainability related to green developments, to green transition, green skills, but also social skills and also equality, diversity, and inclusion. They need to be embedded in practices. They need to be embedded when we talk about sustainability. It's not possible to sustain an industry, a group, or no organizations without thinking about embedding those practices. EDI training and education also addresses well-being. Education, it is an essential driver for change in the sector, and it can produce well-being, quality of life, and changes. And when we talk about empowerment of individuals and communities, it's really important to think that, of course, education can transform lives and produce change. And empowerment, I just got here a definition from two authors that I really like that talk about community empowerment. They mentioned that empowerment requires broader transformative change in society to overturn unjust structures, which often inhibit those who are disadvantaged. So this is very important because we often talk about empowerment of individuals individuals, but you need to think that it requires broader transformative change. It can happen in small steps, but it has to be embedded when we think about how we want to move on. So the empowerment of individuals who are disadvantaged in society or who are not included in society, it's something that really it's a reality all over the world. So what I'm trying to bring here, just as well as Antonio mentioned, food for thought, but for thinking about how we can empower actual individuals to transform their lives, and we need to think about the structures that we have. We need to change them. So, of course, our project and our handbook is just a small piece of larger policies and also practice and also changes that have to happen in society. And we kind of try to bring here a piece of research where it could actually develop, and we developed with organizations as well. As Antonio mentioned, we are a large-scale partnership and our project has partners from different sectors, so education, organizations in the industry, associations. And we also develop research in terms of trying to develop a handbook in which we could provide some guides, we could provide some tools for people to try to embed change and try to bring more equality, diversity, and inclusion to their organization. So we do have one handbook that's a full version of a handbook, which has a lot of research output, has a lot of information on policies and practice in different countries from a consortium, which are 10 countries. And we also brought a small guide handbook, which is more focused in SMEs that can bring some useful information to try to embed change. The handbook that we developed in Pontor, it has information about tools and practices in practical ways to promote EDI in training in organizations. It was developed research, identify gaps and needs in EDI training curricula, so it's very much focused on how to develop training. It has a desk research from 10 different countries on education and training and policies in their countries in Europe, and interview with 28 educators, which are lecturers, practitioners from VTs, universities, and training organizations. We developed a survey with 604 answers from 23 countries from Europe, where we try to see what are the needs and gaps in training EDI. And also we have the best practice collections. It's less here because in the order of the handbook is in the last place, but this is the most important thing that I think we did in this handbook, which is to bring feasible examples of practices of organizations in terms of hospitality on how they are embedding change and EDI training in curricula or EDI practices in organizations. So as I mentioned before, we have a full version and a short version. It's available on our website, the Pontor. So the handbook, the full version, is really more detailed with all the methodology, all the research insights, and 31 case studies collected in 9 European countries. And the short version is really more concise. It's more focused on SMEs, which was our focus since the beginning, to try to make something that could be useful and practical for SMEs. As Antonio mentioned, we do have a large number of SMEs in the sector, most of them. So we want to make it more practical for SMEs, and it has 11 case studies from 9 countries. And I'm going to share just a little bit of insights from the handbook. So from the survey, we asked for the participants which training on EDI they had undertaken. And this is the results. So just keeping in mind that 69% of the surveyed group, they were from supervisory and managing positions, which makes sense that conflict management was the one most undertaken. And there is a list of other training that they had taken. But we also ask for participants which training they would like to have, what they wanted to learn more, because they might face challenges in work or they want to learn more about the subject. And it changed a little. And when we go to the analysis of countries, and you can find in the full version of the handbook, it changes at every country. Of course, every country has its specificities and its needs. But we can see, for example, the mental health awareness just comes to the top. Conflict management continues on the top as well. And we have a few differences in terms of what people want to have in terms of training. So we wanted to see here the gaps and the needs that we need to understand to develop more training and education in tourism and hospitality, in EDI for tourism and hospitality. We also interview educators from the different countries, the 10 different countries that we develop research on. And then in terms of key insights from the interviews, we have, for example, one key insights that integrating EDI topics into curricula. Usually, most EDI training is not a standalone basis, do not exist as a standalone basis. But when you talk about VET and universities, it's more embedded in curriculum across different programs. There is an importance of EDI from HR and client's perspective. So we need to think about catering for the needs of customers, clients, and guests, of course, but also employees. It's very important too. So we need to have both perspectives in terms of training. And change in curricula, it's a lengthy process. So, and it varies in each country. So, but educators mentioned to us in every country that change is happening. So ETI curricula, ETI changes in training, they are happening in all the countries. But of course, they also identify barriers. And in terms of barriers to deliver ETI training or education, they mention barriers, for example, include resistance to change, resources needed, time and money. And when you talk about small organizations, as Antonio mentioned, it really resources, there is a lack of resources. They need to have more resources for it, societal barriers, and also lack of training as well, in every general training, so not only in EDI. In terms of change in mindset, so it's a slow process, so it can be also identified as a barrier. In terms of difficulties in finding specialized trainers or lectures, there is a need to train the trainer that some educators identified because we don't have so many specialized people in EDI education for tourism. So that's a gap that needs to be filled. Societal barriers, they could hinder the advancement of the EDI agenda, and they are present as well. Barriers are present in societal, organizational, and individual levels. So I think my time is close to the end, but I'm just going to say the last part, which is not the least. It's not the least important, but the most important is the EDI best practice case studies that we collected through this research. We do have different topics, as you can see. It can go from inclusion of employees and tourists with disabilities to welcome migrants, embracing culture of diversity, supporting education and training, fostering social inclusion, implementing EDI policies. So we did collect different case studies from different countries and different subsectors in tourism hospitality. And it's very, very interesting to see how different organizations in terms of size, scope, and country and subsector, and how they are trying to embed EDI best practice in their own day-to-day life or training. I brought here just 3 examples. This one, it's called Project Viajando al Futuro, Traveling to the Future, which is a project developed by an organization that developed co-creation design services for tourism in public administration. So they have this project. They are from Spain, from the Basque Country, but they are developing a project in a region called La Siana Valley. And this region is a region in Spain that was a former mining region, and today it's really underdeveloped. And it's a rural area, so it's developing a rural area. And they look to develop with co-creation with the residents of the city ways to develop tourism. So they are trying to embed social inclusion from the beginning, which is something that really, I find it really powerful and important in terms of bringing more sustainability and fairness and social inclusion. So they're developing this project, they're doing workshops and meetings with the local residents and trying to see if they can develop new touristic destinations. They have a bioreserve, it was biosphere reserve that was recognized by UNESCO. So it's tourism, adventure tourism, and also historical tourism in the area. Another best practice case study, it's one that I'm bringing from TU Dublin. It's called the Mindful Kitchen, and it's a case study. It's a model that was developed by lecturers in TU Dublin in the School of Culinary Arts, where the first year students, they started to develop mindfulness techniques in the classroom and also to develop recognition of a culture of respect. So when we talk about culture of respect in the workplace, which is a common training for example, in Ireland, for each having organizations, usually we need to think about the beginning. So in this course, this one from the first year, they start to think about a respectful culture in the kitchens, which is an environment that's recognized in many places in the world, that's very pressure environment, and also gender environments. So they start to learn in the beginning how to develop respectful culture in the workplace. So this is a training as well, education best practice case study. And this last one, it's about including people with disabilities, and this is Albergo Etico in Rome. It's best practice. We also had a webinar with the owner and the manager of this small hotel. It's a small hotel in Rome with 20 people working on that. They develop the hiring process with people with disabilities and then train them for using their abilities. So the idea is not to train them to kind of incorporate them in the in-house work, but to try to use their abilities and try to include them since the beginning. So the idea of those best practices was really to highlight how the industry in different subsectors and in different places in Europe. This one is Italy, Ireland, and we have the other countries as well. We have 31 collected case studies. How people are really thinking about including social inclusion, how people are really thinking about training and education EDI, and to understand that we need to develop from the beginning. So education, it's key for developing a fairer and more sustainable industry. I think I talked too much, but thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fernanda. Very interesting. So if you want to contact her to go in deep, she's available, I think. So now we are going to give the floor to Danai Nestoridou from AKMI, that is going to present the 4 pillars models for inclusive tourism. So Danai, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Fadia, and Sabrina for the invitation and for being here with you. So I'm going to share my screen. So thank you everyone for being here, for being so patient with me. Okay, so today I'm here to present you a very distinctive project, if I may. It's about the Nestoridou for all. It's a project that combines European countries and also sub-Saharan countries, and it's based on a holistic model to open tourism vet for vulnerable groups. This project is based on 4 pillars model for inclusive tourism. And what we will discover together is that everything in this project is interconnected. Every deliverable and every task is interconnected under the structure of the needs of the countries and the partners. So let's go and see our project. About our project, yes, the Nestoridou for all, it's about the tourism, but not the tourism in in the way that we are used to it in European levels, but in a way that we want to make it adjustable and that we want to base it on the needs of the sub-Saharan countries. So how are we going to do this? We're going to do this by developing a holistic model for inclusion in tourism vet, in the heart of which lies the knowledge exchange of our networked collaboration between countries from Europe and also from Spain, Germany, Greece, and also from the Gambia, Namibia, and Kenya. So let me again see. Okay, thank you. Okay, so about the 4 pillars. When we started drafting this proposal, because we are the coordinators of this, our director, Theodore, went to Kenya to have a meeting. And he spoke with Kimondeni colleagues and decided that we're going to implement and write a project based on the 4 pillars, which are the empowerment and inclusion for disadvantaged populations, the internship vet level, funding opportunities at vet level, the distance learning and training, which is something that we saw that has many challenges, and also the excellence in the field of tourism. So about the holistic model, all the project based on the holistic model, it's based on the inclusion in tourism vet, comprised by the identified expertise and good practices of the vet partners, and it will act as the basis for development of the capacity building training curriculum that will target the partnering vet providers and teachers in order to cultivate skills of the future workforce. So about the partnership, for us it was very important to combine a partnership that also has someone from the sectoral level. In Kenya and in general in sub-Saharan countries, one of the most difficult things and one of the challenges is that, yes, they have the will, but it's very difficult for them to implement it. So that's why one of our partners is the TVETA in Kenya, the Technical Vocational Education and Training Authority, which is one of our stronger partners. They have many connections, and they connect also, and they have a big network from all the vet schools. Also, the coordinator is us, AKMI, BK, from Germany, European Association of Institutional Vocational Training, EVBB, Mundus, Kambaku Hospitality College from Namibia, Prosperity Hotel, also from Namibia, Gambia Tourism and Hospitality Institute, TVETA from Kenya, the Technical and Vocational Education and Training Authority, Kimbodeni from Kenya, and also the CFSK, the Computers for Schools in Kenya, which is also our last partner entering this consortium. The thematic areas of this project are the supporting the development of key competencies in VET, the innovation in VET, accelerate the employment of digital technologies, promote sub-Saharan Africa tourism VET skills, fostering the professional development of VET teachers and trainers, and also development of key competencies in VET, including entrepreneurship. What we understood here is that we have to base the project on the needs. The needs are the reduction of unemployment levels, the low exploitation of tourist sector, the insufficiency of inclusive access in sub-Saharan tourism, and disadvantaged populations, the lack of network collaborations. That's why we also got TVETA for this, the inadequate responsiveness of sub-Saharan tourism vet system to the requirements of the labor market, and the lacking development of digital pathways. And we based this project on the target groups, which are not only the tourist sector inside the sub-Saharan Africans, but also the regional and policymakers. Okay, so what I wanted to add also here is that all our main deliverables are interconnected with each other. What we did is that we started with the analysis of the four pillars best practices, which means that we had 4 cycles of stakeholders consultations from Greece, the vet institution from Gambia, Namibia, and Kenya, and we understood what are the needs in order to collect them and have documents with best practices that we can implement and use as an example and incorporate into the needs of the sub-Saharan vet schools. Then we did a report and findings and action-driven recommendations that we got and collected through interviews, and then we proceed with the 4 pillars zero model for inclusive tourism training. How we did that? Through action plans. So right now, one of the deliverables that we completed and we finished was the action plans that are documents from each vet school and organization, and we ask them that, okay, we have the 4th pillar model, and we want you to make and describe how you can use the best practices from the Europe VET system and collect it all together to create some guides for your needs and for your future implementations. So for us, it was really important to understand that the fourth pillars model, as we wrote it in the proposal the first time, had to be adjusted. And the most important thing that to understand was to understand that the challenges need to be faced differently. And how is that? By understanding the different needs and by reshape, modify, and make it more inclusive. So we did this, and the four pillars in the action plans reshaped. We based all our actions into four pillars, which are based in the original ones, which are the internationalization strategy and proposal writing, the simulation of working environments in tourism, the distance learning in the tourist sector, and the dual training with a focus on entrepreneurship. What we saw is that every organization and every country has different needs. About internationalization strategy and proposal writing, our partners shared with us that right now what they need is to explore more Erasmus funding projects and chances and how they can get into the internationalization market. So what we did is that through our study visits, which are the cores of our project, we shared them through trainings and through workshops, a guide, let's say, on how to write proposals, how to share ideas, how to actually organize and incorporate an internationalization and proposal writing office. So when we were in Kenya back in April, we did a workshop and shared ideas, and we saw that there are many ideas that they want to implement, but they can't find the way because of lack of knowledge. This is also something that's inside the challenges. The challenge, the real challenge, is not that there is not a will. The challenge is that there is not a knowledge. Also, what we saw is that the simulation of working environments in tourism is something that's very helpful. Last year on May, we have a study visit here in Greece, and we gave them a tour in our hospital laboratories. We did a tour in our campus facilities. We showed them the pop-up restaurant that we have. We showed them the state-of-the-art kitchens, the reception desk, the varied bedrooms environments, and also the bar coffee laboratory. One of the questions that raised was that, okay, this is something that is going to be very helpful because our students that are coming from rural areas and are from disadvantaged populations, they want to be prepared for what comes in the future and how they're working in the schools. They also do a holistic model of education. They combine the education of the theoretical part with the psychological aspects, and they provide everything inside. So this is something that we also want to share with them. So what we did is that through the workshops, through the how to find fundings and how to find sponsors. We talked with them, and when they got back in Kenya, they found sponsorships, and they actually created a room with 3 different beds, one a nursery bed and 2 from a hotel, a very luxurious one, and one that's more modern. And we had some interviews with the students on how it changed their education and how they think that that simulation and also dual training is important for them. What we understood is that for them and in the tourist sector, what matters most is to actually implement what you learn in theory. So the students shared with us the difference it made when they learned something in a theoretical base and they could actually implement it and include it in their courses. Let's say how to make a bed in a specific time, or how to clean a room, or how to prepare it for guests. So when the time comes for them to go to a hotel and do their internship, they are more well prepared. So this is something, and it's a knowledge that we saw that it had impact, and it's one of the biggest results of the project, and it actually we actually saw it before the end of the project. So what I wanted to share, it's really a pity that you can't see my screen because I also have some photos.
No, but we have seen your screen all the time. Don't worry.
Oh,
We're
okay.
enjoying your presentation. Don't worry.
Okay, great. I didn't know about this. Okay, so here is what I was talking about. This is the nursery room. Please tell me if you can see. So yes, Miss Josephine, inspired by our tour and by our hospitality school in Athens, they went and actually implement the state-of-the-art hotel simulation lab, which is a really big achievement, and we really see a change. The really important thing with this project is that when we're doing workshops and when we're doing trainings in tourism, we see the change. We see the change not in months, but we see the change during the days. And this is something that it was really important and shared with the partners, that every meeting that we're doing, it's helping us a bit to change and shift things, because tourism for them is one of their core, let's say, jobs, or one of the core things that can help them excel and intersect into the labor market and the international market. So what they shared with us when we were doing the workshops and the trainings in Kenya and Namibia is that we're trying to get into the labor market. We are well prepared, but what we miss is the knowledge, and not the knowledge based on the European model, but the knowledge that can be shifted, can be alternated, and can be adjustable into our needs. So here I can show you some photos of the study visits that we did. This one is back from May in 2024 in Athens. And also the other thing that we did is that we did a workshop on the education and the curriculum system that we follow. We shared ideas, we exchanged knowledge, and we shared how you can incorporate a theoretical curriculum into a dual training curriculum, and incorporating the theoretical aspects and the practical aspects into the same curriculum without changing, but developing the courses that you already have. Here also is from the Namibia, the study visit in September. The partners met with the students, they exchanged knowledge, we asked them for the needs, we asked them for the difficulties and the challenges they may face, and they told us that for us the most important thing is to be well prepared, because the market is cruel, and for disadvantaged people, they need to be well prepared in every level. But tourism is, as we saw, is something that can be very inclusive in these terms. And what they're doing in these schools is that they try to be more inclusive and to actually open a new door into also the sectoral level in order to explore new ways of distance learning, or for people that are disadvantaged. We also did a study visit and a tour into a deaf school, and we've been told that actually the government give chances and create spaces or open spaces and new positions in the tourism sector for deaf people and for people with any kinds of disabilities. But the really important thing is that in order to do that, they need the knowledge of how to actually connect with other countries, how to participate in international projects, and how to do the changes and see the changes in every day. Because this is the thing with project, that you see the changing after every meeting. Here is also the photo from the study visit in Kenya, the September 2024. And here is the last one that we did the trainings and the workshops in Kenya, April 2025. And it was one of the biggest, let's say, success of our project, because we gave them also the opportunity to participate into the 4 pillars, to tell us what are the difficulties, and to see that, okay, can we implement actually the 4 pillars, or do we need to change them? And this is the question in this. For the distance learning, we saw that this is something that for Gambia, let's say, with the lack of internet, they may use it in the future, but for now, this is very difficult for them. But we saw and we asked ourselves, okay, but what can we do? So the next level and the next thing in our project is to create and develop the educational material and the courses, to incorporate dual trainings in our courses, and how you can combine the theoretical and practical aspect, and also to create the kind of materials that they can also use from their personal space, or to not have to be in the class and learn from the professor, but to also use it for a future use. So this is this project. This is a very distinctive one. It's very motivational, if you ask me, and it showed that the tourist sector is open. It's alternating and it's changing in every way, and it's also the really important thing is that you have to adjust and in order to excel, and that there is a will, but you have to be open and you have to see how you can actually implement and how you can use the differences actually in the culture and in the needs of every country in order to adjust them in a most international and unified way. So that was all from me. I'm sorry that we had this connection issues and that you didn't actually have the chance to have a flow or to explain to you everything about the project, but you can share. Well, this is a project that we actually have many discussions about. So I'm going to invite you in future discussions or webinars because everyone in this partnership are very involved. So that was from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Danai. I saw a couple of things in the chat. The first one, if we are going to share the presentation, I don't know. So if you don't mind, maybe we can share your presentation. And also there are some participants interested in cooperating in capacity building or other projects. So maybe if you want to share your contacts in the chat, and they can be easily reached. And I don't know if there are other questions from the participants. Thank you very much to all the speakers for the interesting presentation. And okay, there is, I think.
There is a question from Fernanda to Fernanda. We have there. So she's asking, given the current political landscape on EDI, which advice would you give to SMEs across the world to remain resilient?
Well, we can see nowadays, we can see all over the world, not only different continents, a really, how can I say, some intelligence related to EDI training and education. So in terms of being resilient, we can see as well there are many barriers around and maybe more coming. But I also say that, as I mentioned before, education, it's a means of transformation. So education in EDI brings, a better industry, it brings social development, it brings a world where everybody feels welcome. And it's something that it should really be embedded in organizations, but it's really difficult to do it. As we talk to many organizations about how they did the process, as I mentioned in the presentation, is a lengthy process. It takes time. It takes change. So that's one of the things that we mentioned in our handbook. The change management plans, they are important because they bring change to organizations where we discuss with employees and people working what they are looking for in terms of what they want for training and also why the organization is making the change. And also it takes time, it takes a lot of efforts, takes a lot of resources. So collaboration is also key. As we can see in the LSP's collaboration Antonio presented, having collaboration with different sectors, having collaboration with education, organizations, associations, it makes the change stronger. So it really, as I mentioned before, I would say that to remain resilient, you really need to work for it without stopping. I would say it would be my own personal opinion, and to stay in a path, look to develop a plan and the same path, because there will be barriers in many places, like in every change that you're making everywhere. So that I don't know if I answered, but that's my opinion in terms of how to remain resilient. Just keep going and keep trying to anchor in your values and what you feel like the society should be. So that would be this. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Fernanda. It's very clear, your answer. I don't know if there is some question more. Thank you, Danai, to share your contact.
I have one question. If I have
yes, sure.
A lot of questions, but I will reduce it to one. So to make it more practical, Antonio, if you can give us some examples of what do you mean when you say upskilling, reskilling in the tourism industry? For example, if we're talking about a youth hostel, like to make it very, very practical for people listening, what would it be to upskill or reskill the employees or potential employees?
Yes. No, you are right. Indeed, we think of training and education normally in the context of 3 years diploma or 2 years at least, if not longer, unless we're speaking about the executives master's degree that could last, let's say, 9 months to 1 year. Now, when we mean upskilling and reskilling, we mean interventions that can last maybe 1 month or like up to 6 months, but maybe like a few hours a week, where, for example, employees or employers are trained on specific new activities. So if I think of a software that is new for hotel management and reservations that uses up AI-powered technology in order to sort better the reservations, to create better pricing systems for my hotel, it will need a specific and dedicated training to it. This can be done in two ways. Can be provided by the software company. So this is something that we can do together with them because we can put together the operators, the technological operators, and the tourism service providers. But this could be done also from the side of the educational providers. For example, in other sectors, you can have a system that is widely utilized by, let's say, hotel reservation in one specific country, which can really change, actually, by the way, from France to Italy to Greece and so on. And then since it's a sort of, let's say, state of the art or more mainstream software, then you have one school that in partnership with, for example, a chain of hotels or with the technological provider itself can provide a short course that is dedicated only to the software. So the idea of really upskilling and reskilling is to prove that there is a culture now, there is a necessity to promote a culture of lifelong learning. So that if I work in a seasonal job and I work, for example, 6 to 7, 8 months a year, the remaining months, possibly also paid, obviously, can continue to work on myself in order to advance my occupational, let's say, perspectives and opportunities ahead when I go back into the labor market. So it has to be a sort of seamless transition, which of course requires the involvement of job agencies, requires the involvement of the public authorities, of regional authorities that support the upskilling and reskilling or the training and education in general of people that are unemployed or people that are employed or companies that invest in the training of their own employees. So as you see, there is a whole sort of consensus that need to be built, but this is the idea of an upskilling and reskilling intervention. It can be applied also to communication and management if there are new tools or new markets that you would like to target or address, or new platforms that you have not been using lately. So really short types of intervention that can really enrich on what the experience the professionals already have. So this is really the core, and I think the really, great value that professionals have because they know the market, they know the clients, they know how to work with people. But it's normal that now with new technologies, with new needs, with new, for example, the presentation of Fernanda on accessibility or in diversity and inclusion, there are new sorts of competencies that we need to be aware of, at least, and then be able also to apply.
I've also shared in the chat the EU tourism platform. So if you want to join Pact for Skills and EU tourism platform, please contact Klaus and Antonio, and it will be very important to achieve this, how to cope with the skill mismatch in tourism. So feel free to reach us to have more information and to have an active part in the review of the EU tourism strategy for 2026. So please have a look, and if you have a question, we remain at your disposal. And I don't know if there are more questions. I would like to thank you all the speakers for the inspiration for next project and initiative in tourism. And so thank you very much. And I wish you a good day, and I hope see you soon and for more fruitful initiative in tourism. Sabrina also shared the link for the International Week. And if you want to join one of the ISTO initiative, please write to Sabrina or to me. Also for the ISTO forum in Europe ISTO Forum, in which we are cooperating also with the EVBB as a representative of Pact for Skills. So it will be very important to have your representation from Europe and abroad if you want. And I think that we are going to send the information as soon as possible, and you can have an idea of the event. So thank you very much. I think we can close this session, and I hope
Much
see you soon.
everyone.